టూ పీసెస్ అలా పెట్టాను. సో షీ వర్కింగ్ అబౌట్ ఫుల్ రైస్ తర్వాత ఇంకోటి ఫుల్ రైస్ నేను వెజ్ పెట్టుకున్నాను. తినగా రైస్ టూ పీసెస్ అలా పెట్టాను. షీ వర్కింగ్ అబౌట్ ఫుల్ బొమ్మ పెట్టాను తర్వాత రైస్ అంతా తినొద్దని నేను వెజ్ పెట్టుకున్నాను.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Hello. When I'm entering your degree, it's showing me MCA. Integrated course BCA plus MCA or MCA integrated? Hello. Integrated course BCA plus MCA or MCA integrated? Okay. Okay, sir. Open unte petti okay, so I'm putting it MCA integrated, right? Hello. Okay, so you have done your BCA from Vellore itself? No. Okay, okay, done. So I'll do that BCA plus MCA. Okay. I think PAN card details and all I got it just now. And your current location I'm putting Hyderabad. Notice period is 0 and you're immediately available to join. Okay, done. Okay.
Spandan, you should mute yourself. Spandan, can you mute yourself? Hello?
Hello. Hi. Yeah, anyway, so I'm really sorry for that. I'm just putting the profiles. I was just waiting for those PAN card details and all. The thing is, one second, I'll just.
Yeah, he's on the.
Yeah, thank you. I was trying to reach out to you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm really sorry. I didn't see that.
So I have passed you the presenter privilege to you. You can please check once and we can start with the session, I guess.
Yeah, everything is looking fine. Yeah, so I can see that I have the access and you should be able to hear me and see me. So we are good, Neha. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you.
This meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 o'clock. We'll be starting the session shortly. Please settle down. Good afternoon, everyone. Please settle down. We're going to start in a few more minutes. In 1-2 minutes, we're going to start. I see that Dhanalakshmi, Dhanasri, Manikam, and Monisha, you have raised your hands. I'll repeat this. Wow, I'll repeat this now. Please ask any queries you have in the Q&A section. We will not be able to respond to raising hands. Dhanalakshmi, Dhanasri, Monisha, please let me know if you have any questions in the Q&A section. We're going to start in 1 minute. So please settle down, everyone. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Puran. I am your educator for today. Today is the fourth time or the fourth week that we are meeting. So we are going to continue from where we left out last time, but we are going to do a quick recap of what we did so far. Okay, so just to get you back into context, what are we doing? As a part of the Naan Mudhalvan program, we have just started. We have a few weeks back, we have just started this object-oriented programming in Python, so that we can understand how to code in Python and how to understand the fundamentals of programming. So this week, as you can see on the screen, this week we'll be going further. So far in the entire course, if I collapse this entire course in this entire course, this is roughly the halfway point. We are beyond the halfway point and we have already reached somewhere around here. We have finished abstraction last time, and now we are going to proceed from there further into the next set of topics. Let's do a quick revision of what's happening so far. We did an object-oriented programming introduction, and you know what the constructor is, you know what the reference variable is, and you know some of the basics of object-oriented programming, right? And you know what abstraction is, and you know what the encapsulation is. Abstraction we are going to talk about a little bit later, but at least as far as encapsulation goes, I think you understand what private variables are, how to access private variables, etc., etc. Right? And then we've talked about pass by references. We've talked about collections of objects. We've talked about lists and dictionaries, right? We have talked when we did that, and later we talked about how to create not just instance variables, but opposite of instance variables is static variables. So you know how to create static variables, and then we talked about the various kinds of relationships that classes can have. Then we went on and understood aggregation. So you remember aggregation? Aggregation means this was the code that we took a look at last time. This is the customer class and this is the address class, and the customer class has a reference as an attribute to the private, to the another class. So there is a class inside, there's a reference to a class inside of another class. That is why it is called aggregation. Then we moved on into inheritance. Inheritance was the part where you had a parent-child relationship, right? Remember inheritance? So all the features of the parent, all the attributes, the constructor and the methods, all of them are a part of the child. But the feature for the children can choose to add their own types of things on it. And finally, we talked also about method overloading, where the child can override the method and of the parent. We also know how to invoke the parent constructor and the parent attributes we can access using super. Not the attributes, but the parent constructor. And the parent methods we should be able to access. So that was the inheritance. I hope you remember inheritance. And then we moved on to a little bit more about abstraction. So we did abstract methods, and then we know how to write abstract methods. So this was where we ended up, where we had a meta class app implementation, and then we have abstract methods. So I hope you remember that so far. So let's do a quick coding session to understand all of these things once more. So let me promise you this. Let me promise you this, that even if you have not done hands-on coding, if you look at today's session, you will get a lot of confidence on how to program and how to actually start approaching programming. Okay, so once you set up your environment, or once you are opening our this Infosys Springboard portal, you will be able to see that lots of problems have places where you can execute the code. So make sure you're coding there and make sure you're executing the code there so that you can understand better. Okay, it's like I told you last time also. If I show you a YouTube video of how to hit a century, will you be able to play for Team India? That's not possible, right? You will not be a Mithali Sharma, Mithali Raj, or you will not be a Virat Kohli. You cannot be that because why? Just watching a YouTube video will not make you a cricketer, right? So just watching me talk about Python will not make you a Python developer. Just pay a little bit of more attention, and I'm sure that you can do it. So I'm going to share my desktop again, and we're going to revise this very quickly. Object-oriented programming. There was this introduction. Okay, these are the problems with old Python. Then we had the class and object. Okay, let's do that. So let's close all of these things. Okay, let me create a new file. Let's call it revision. Oh, we already have revision. Huh? Okay, looks like we have a revision. So I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so let's see that we have a file called revision.py. Let's talk about object-oriented programming. In object-oriented programming, we talked about classes and objects. So let's try to build our own classes and our own objects. Okay, so let's imagine that we want to build a company. Let's build a company. What company do we want to build? Let's build an airlines company. Okay, so what does the airline company have? I think there are lots of things that the airline company will have, right? So if you are an airline company and you're building, so let's build a company, airlines company, let's build software for it. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, so if I want to build a software for an airlines company, what are the things that the company will manage? Will the company manage the Prime Minister of India? No, the company does not manage the Prime Minister of India. But does the company have flight? Okay, the company will have flights. The company will have cities. Those are the things that it should manage. It is concerned with flights. It is concerned with cities. It is concerned with passengers. It is concerned with tickets. Okay. So when we are doing it like this, right? So when we are talking about any problem we want to solve in the real world, so this is the kinds of problems that Python will help you solve. So we build an airline which manages all of these things, right? Flights, cities, passengers, and tickets. Now we come and talk about object-oriented programming. Okay, so let's create a simple thing called a city. So we can create a city like city name. That's the variable. City name equal to let's say Venice, or let's take Thrissur, something like that. So we can say that this is a city name, but the object-oriented way of doing this is we have to say class city, and then we have to say init, and then inside that always goes self, and then name. I can say city name, and then I can say self dot underscore city. Sorry, underscore name equal to city name. Okay, that's it. So class is city. So we can do this like that. We can have an airline. So this is how you create a class, and because this is a class, we can add a lot of other things also. What are the other things we can add to a class? So this is a private attribute. So if it's a private attribute, we have to put a getter and a setter for that. Def get name self return self dot name. And then how do we do that? Next one. Def set name and new name, and I say self dot name equal to new name. So that's the getter, that's the setter, and that's the city. So we have this. Okay, we can have other details of the city also, but for now let's have a class like this. So what is the object-oriented way to make a city? So this one can be done now as city1 equal to city. I can create a city, and since the constructor is supposed to take a city name, what will I give? I will give the name of the city as Nellore. Okay, so let's say that's the name of the city, and I can this. So let's run this code. This will be Python 3 revision.py. Yeah, so far it seems like this is working. Okay, no problem here. So let me also go ahead and do a little more object-oriented programming. You remember the str method, right? And this one returns a string. City Nellore, and I now print city1. So you remember this str method also. Please make sure that you are revising. So I'm going to keep collapsing this now. So what did I do? I created a class called city, and I am printing the city. So now invalid syntax returns. Okay, what's happening here? What's the syntax wrong? This is a city whose name is, and can I? Okay, this is not returns. It is return. I think that I made that mistake. Yeah. So when I'm printing that city, it is printing that. Let's create a city 2 equal to city, and let's say this is Madurai. Okay, and let me print city 2 next time. So this is how object-oriented programming works. Now you know how private attributes and getters and setters for the private attributes, right? So this is a city whose name is Madurai. Okay, so I can copy that. So I created 2 cities. I'm running those 2 cities. So this is just a quick thing. Now let's also quickly revise other things in Python. How can we create a list? I can create a list by saying my list, and I can say my list dot push city1 and my list dot push city2. Okay, so that I can do. And now if I say print my list, let's see what happens. So what did I do? I created 2 cities. Now I've added those 2 cities into a list, and then I'm printing that list. Let's see what happens. List attribute has no attribute called push, so it is append. Just append, and now we can see a list. We can see a list of these things. Some object and some object. Okay, you can see a list of these things. So that's not a good way to print it. So instead of printing my list, I can now teach you how to do a for loop. For what is the length of it? For I in range, what is the length of this list? I can say 2. Or I can directly go for the length of it, of my list. Now for I in that range, which means I goes from 0 to 1, because the length is 2. So the range will go from 0, it will start from 0 and 0 to 1. So for each of these items, so I can print now my list, and I can access the ith element. So let's run this code now. You'll see that this is a city whose name is Nellore, this is a city whose name is Madurai. Now you know how to go through lists also. So what we have done, we have taken a look at object-oriented programming, the basics. You know now abstraction, public and private data accesses. We have done just the revision of it now. Passing by reference. So if you want to, you can write this as a function now. So this is a function, print cities. Okay. I'll say print list. So this one, it will take a list to print. So I'm just creating a function which takes a list to print. Okay, and now I can call this function print list. So I've just created a function and I'm able to call that function. So I'm calling that function with my list. So I can define that function somewhere else. So control X. I'm going to get rid of that. So this I don't need anymore. Okay. So I've created a class. Then I've created a function. Sorry, method. Sorry, a function, and I'm calling that function. I'm calling that function. I'm calling that function by giving this a parameter like this. And now if I run the code again, you'll see that it will say the same thing. Okay, so this is passing by reference, so you know how this works. Now you've already seen a collection of objects. You know what static variables are. So let's create static variable. Let's create the city count. Let's create something called a city count. City count equal to 0. So this one is a static variable. And whenever somebody initializes something, whenever somebody initializes a city, you can say city count. How do you access this? City dot city count, city dot city count plus equal to 1, where incrementing this by 1. So how can I print that now? How can I know that? So let's say I print the city dot city count. Okay, so I print city dot city count, and I create a city, and I print the count again, and I create a city, and I print the count again. Let's see what happens. The rest of this one I will not consider for now. So what did I do? I printed the city count. Initially the city count is set to 0, but every time somebody is doing a construction, it's going to increment by 1, and this is going to be a static variable. Sorry, static member. And if it's going to be a static attribute, then it's going to be at a class level. So you access it using the class name. So run this code, and it says 0 first, and then it says 1 city, and then it says after that it says 2 cities are there. Okay, so I think this is working fine. So you know how static variables and static attributes can be done. So if I keep this as if I put this as private now, let's see if I can access this underscore city count. Can I access it like that? You already know that private things cannot be accessed that way. Let's still try it. Even at the static level, we have never tried it. So we have to access it using something else. So we can have a getter and a setter for the city count. We don't need to have a setter. Let's get a getter for that. So def get city count, and then self, and then return self dot underscore city count. I'm just going to return that. So now instead of this statement, and instead of that statement, and instead of that one, we can now get the city count by directly asking city dot, what's the name? Get city count. But we have to also declare to the interpreter that this is going to be a static method. So this is how you create a static method. This is how you create a static attribute, and this is how you create a static method. So you remember everything, I'm sure that it's all coming back to you. So this is how we go, and this is how we go, this is how we go. So it is requiring one positional argument. Oh yeah, the static methods, of course, they do not take self, they are static, so they do not have to have the reference variable. You remember that was a common mistake. Self is not defined. Where is that? In line number 13. Okay, it will be, we should not refer it like that. Yeah, city count will always be referred like that. Okay, I see some of you have raised your hands. So if you have any questions, please ask in the Q&A section. So let's see how many city counts are there. Yeah, so let's run this code. It doesn't do anything because get city count is just returning it, so we need to keep printing them. So we have to put the print in right inside of them. So I'll take that. Okay, so we are getting the city count again, just like earlier, and it says 0, 1, 2. So I hope it is starting to make sense now. We have done a quick revision of whatever are the new concepts that will be required, because this week and next week onwards we have a lot of exercises. The entire next week is exercises. We are going to do a lot of programming. So because we are going to do a lot of programming, I want you to be really open-minded about this today's session. Now, this is how you make cities, and of course, cities will have to also have. So this is all the testing, right? So this is all the testing we did for cities. We are happy with the city. Now I'm going to create another class. This one is going to be flight. Class flight. Okay, this is a flight, and the flight will have a to and fro destination, right? To and fro. Okay, so let's create that constructor for that. Okay, so starting location, ending location. A flight will go from a starting location to an ending location, and I can say starting location is from self dot from equal to starting location, and self dot to is the ending location. Okay, where it is coming from and where it is going to. That is the flight, and every flight, let's say, it has an ID also. So let's create a private variable called ID counter equal to 1001. Okay, like that. Let's just create an ID, and then I'll have to also create a self dot underscore underscore ID equal to underscore underscore ID counter. So we get that ID counter, and then we finally increment that ID counter. So what did I do? I just created a way to create a class for a flight, right? So let's also quickly write the str method, def str self. So I say return. We have to return a string. This is flight plus self dot underscore underscore ID. That one, let's convert it into a string. Yeah, so this is flight with that ID going from plus self dot from to self dot to, and then we put that full stop. Yeah, so let's try a flight now. So these are flights. So the flight have 3 private properties right now, and I have a string method. So while creating the starting location and ending location, we have to create that flight. Let's create that flight now. So f equal to, we create a flight. Let's say we are going from Chennai. We are going from Chennai to, let's say, New Delhi. Okay, so let's create that, and let's see if I can print f. Run this code. It says invalid syntax because this is a flight, blah 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 blah. Okay, I think I missed a plus sign there between these two things. Yeah, that's correct. Cannot access local variable ID counter, so I have to cannot access it like this. Of course, that's correct. So these are the common problems. We have to access it using the name of the class. So this is flight. Those are the only places where we are accessing it. So now we are good. So this is flight 10101. This flight 10101 going from Chennai to New Delhi. Okay, so let's create another flight now. F2 equal to flight. This one is the opposite of that. So it's coming from New Delhi to Chennai. Okay, so let's do that. So this F2, and let's say we print F2. Save that. and run. So this is the next flight with a different ID. It's going from New Delhi to Chennai. Okay, so you can now create flights. And how can I create them in a new list? I can say this is a list, L equal to new list. And in that list, I can say F and F2, I can put them. And now that I have this print list method already, I can obviously use that and put L there. So can you see what I'm trying to do? Okay, so I run this code and says, now the list is printing automatically. So if I add F3 now, and this one is say from Colombo to Trivandrum. Let's say there is a flight there, let's imagine that, and now if I add F3 to that list, so this is just a quick revision again. And this one says this is a flight going from Chennai to New Delhi, blah 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 blah. So now instead of having starting location and ending location as strings, can I give city names? Okay, can I give city names? So I can say C equal to city, and this one is Chennai. So let me get 5 of them. 1, C, C. Okay, that be C1. This is C2, this is C3, this is C4, this is C5. And let this be F1 and 2 and 3. So let this be F1, 2, 3. So here this is not Chennai. Let's make this Chennai, the first one. The second one will be New Delhi. So I'm creating 5 cities and 3 flights. Okay, Chennai, New Delhi, and Colombo, and Trivandrum. Okay, so I create 4 cities, and now what do I do by creating those flights, right? So this is from Chennai to New Delhi. This is from C1 to C2. This one is New Delhi to Chennai. This is from C2 to C1. And this one, right? Colombo is C3 and Trivandrum is C4. So if I do that, let's run this code again. There, here, clear, and run. You can only concatenate str string, not city to string. So now we're trying to concatenate self.to and self.from. So that's the problem. So now self.from dot, every city has a getter, right? Get name. So every city has a get name, get name. And here also 2 dot get name. Can you see what I'm trying to do here? I hope this makes sense. So now run this code again. This is flight mode. So we are back again. Okay, so this is how slowly you can create the flight and cities, and now the flight is dependent on the city, right? Slowly the passengers will be dependent on flights now. The passengers are dependent on flights. The passengers are dependent on flights. And the flights are dependent on cities. And tickets are available for a passenger between 2 cities. Right? So all of these are related to each other. They have relationships with each other. So this is how we basically build object-oriented programming. So I hope this makes sense, because that is how we were talking about all of these things. So this is just a quick revision of Python. So this, if you want to build an airlines, this is the objects you will build. What about if you want to build a bank? You will probably have things like customer, account, various types of accounts. Okay, you will have currencies, maybe dollars and rupees and rubles and all that other stuff also you can have. Okay, we can also have So all of those things will be for a banking software. One more example, one last time we'll do. Let's say we're building a toy shop, not a toy shop, Kirana store, departmental store. Okay, you know what that is. Okay, so it's a departmental store. So in that, what will you have? You will have product. Each of the product can be of a different subclass. Okay, and some of the products will have some properties, then other will have other properties. Then you will have to have some object for. So you have multiple products, right? So you'll have objects of products. Then you will have bill. You will have multiple bills, so you'll have objects of bills. Then you will have sale. Then you will have something called total money. So all of these things you have to have, right? So if you are doing this software application, you will have to create these objects. If you are building this software application, you will have to build these objects. And therefore, or if you are going to build an airline application, you are going to build these objects. Okay, so slowly, as in when your application gets more and more complex, this will happen. One more time, if you are going to build IRCTC, what will you have? We have trains. Each of these trains will have train will have a train number, number of coaches, their names, number of seats available, all that stuff. For each of these trains, then we have stations. Then we will have staff. For the staff also will have multiple child classes, like are they grade A employees or grade B employees, officers, or maybe railway minister is there. That fellow will keep on changing. So all of these we have to manage. So I hope you understand what object-oriented programming is. So I'm going to get rid of all of that and I'm going to let you understand this forever. The next set of topics will be exception handling. But before we go into exception handling, by the end of today, we will also do a little bit of practice problems. So because we are going to do a little bit of practice problems, we will be able to spend some time on this. Okay, so just like I have written the code like this now. Okay, just like I have written the code like this, there's the city, then we have created cities, there is flight, I have created flights, I have created lists of them, then I have tried to print them, I have done all of this. So I hope this is making a little sense. Now I want you to read this problem and attempt it on your side. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to try to attempt this on your side. So I'm going to put myself on mute and you guys will try to make this. And I promise you that I will show you how to do this next time. Okay, so you have 5 minutes to attempt this. So make this interactive. If you have any question answers, please make sure you're asking. So I hope you remember what this is. This is a class diagram. This is the class, the single class we are supposed to create called purchase. And these are the attributes of the purchase class, and these are the methods of the purchase class. The plus sign indicates that these are public, and the minus sign would indicate that these are private. So which means this one is self dot underscore underscore items underscore purchased. Okay. So that is how we want to create this one. And of course, all the private variables must be initialized in the constructor. So make sure you're doing that. Okay. So finally, these will be all the methods that are public. And you'll see these keywords static, static. So which means that these two attributes are supposed to be static, which means they'll be accessed with purchase.list of items and purchase.list of count of each item sold. In the same way, this one is also static, which means it will be accessed as purchase.find total items sold. Looks like the list of items, list of count of each item sold, and the total items sold. Those three things are going to be at a class level, which means there only one copy is going to exist. But for all of these, every instance will have a separate copy. Item purchased. So every purchase will have its own item purchased. Every purchase will have its own item on offer. Every purchase will have get items purchased, get item on offer, and sell items and provide offer. But all the purchases will have this one as common, or the static, 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 these three things as common. And here is a brief description of what is going to happen. So I want to give you some time. I want you to attempt this because this week and next week we are going to do a lot of attempting of code. So please try this on your machines right now and see if you can build this class. I promise you that by the end of this session, either this week or maybe on Friday, we will show you how this code works. So please try this out right now. Make sure you're reading all these carefully, especially point number 6 and 7. Maybe point number 6 and 7 you can do it a little bit later, but I think that you should be able to pull off everything else. And there are a few notes. Uh, there are a few notes here. So make sure you are taking care of those points. So again, that's the class diagram. You know where to find this. This is practice problem number 1 in our course. So please attempt this now. If you're done with this, please let me know. And like if you're getting into problems, definitely let me know. So, but definitely try to attempt this problem right now, because only by practicing will we get and we will understand this. Otherwise, we'll continue with the rest of the session in a little while. So you have a few more minutes to try this out, and we will attempt this on Wednesday. Okay, so I will show you the solution on Wednesday. So please, while you are here now, make sure you're asking me any questions that you have on this, because on Wednesday, I'm expecting all of you to respond. Yeah, I hope you understand that. So please take a look at this very carefully and try to implement this in Python. Okay, so let's continue from where we left off. So after that brief revision, now we are going to talk about exception handling in Python. Yeah, we'll take a look at the relationship between object-oriented programming and exception handling. So in the earlier course, okay, we have seen the following in the earlier course that you have done: what is the need for exception handling and how to create custom exceptions, how to create custom exception messages. Now we'll take a look at what is the relationship between object-oriented programming and exception handling. So let's go to the first page of this next chapter, of this next lecture. So let us consider this scenario. Okay, let's take that code and let's paste that there, save it. So let me quickly collapse everything so that you can see what is happening. So there is a class called credit card, there is a class called customer, and then somebody creates two credit cards, puts them in a dictionary, and that's dictionary object. They're giving it to the constructor and creating a customer object. So one customer has a dictionary of 2 cards. I hope this makes sense. So there's this customer and it has a dictionary of 2 cards. Let's take a look at the customer class. It accepts cards, puts it as a public attribute, and then this is what it does. There is another method called purchase item. So let's take a look at that. What do we do? Here you are seeing for the first time, we are seeing something called try and accept. So it's something like if and else. Okay, it's almost like that. Okay, so you have to start getting used to this syntax. It will be try and accept. So try and accept, what does it do? Try is this block and accept is this block, right? So this block of code in the try block, right? This block of code will be executed, and if there is a failure in this block of code, then this block of code will be executed. If there is no failure here, then this block will not be executed at all. Okay, so it is like if else. Okay, this is definitely executed. If it fails, this one is also executed. If it doesn't fail, then we continue. So I think you can notice in this logic, while true is an infinite loop. So while will keep on looping until this statement is false, but this statement is true. Therefore, while will keep on looping. It will keep on looping until if this one succeeds. If this one succeeds, then break will be implemented. So while and break, you will break out of the while loop. So I hope you got this. Let's take a look at the credit card also. This is quite simple. It has a card number and a balance as its public attributes. So this must be the card number, this must be the balance. So I hope you got an example of this. So let's understand. Let us consider a scenario where a customer can have many credit cards, right? So this customer has 2 credit cards, 101 and 102, which he can use for purchasing. And each credit card has a number and a balance. Yeah, that's the number, that's the balance. Let us consider the purchase item method. Okay, purchase item method should be in the customer. Okay, here, which takes the price of the item and card number as input. Okay, it takes the price and card number. Okay, so the customer, if they wants to purchase something, right, they'll get the price and what card. There are 2 cards that this person has, right? So what is the card number you want to purchase it with? That is what they're going to ask. So the purchase item method takes the price and the card number as input. And in case the price is valid, in case the price is invalid or price is beyond the credit card balance, we can transfer the control to an accept block. Accept block is this one. I think you have seen this. This is the accept block. So if one of these fails, if the purchase item will fail, okay, that's what they're saying, right? In case the price is invalid, so if purchase item fails, in case the price is invalid or the price is beyond the credit card balance, in both these cases, we can transfer the control to an accept. In Python, we can raise exception using the raise keyword. So therefore, we can now try this code in Eclipse. So let me format it like that. Credit card, nothing changed. Same card number and balance. Customer, again, init did not change. Purchase item, oh, here you see, we are raising an exception. Whenever you are trying to do the purchase item, if the price is less than 0, then we are raising exception. If the card number is not in set cards, then we are raising exception. And this one also we are raising an exception. So you can see that we are raising exceptions for whenever there is something wrong. Okay, so if the card number is not there in the self.cards, if I don't have that card, then that also raises exception. And finally, this one also, if the balance is told also, it will raise an exception. Again, same thing like earlier. So we have these classes, we have customer cards class and credit card class. We create 2 credit cards. We create a list of those, a dictionary of those cards. Then we create a customer who has the dictionary of cards. And then we run an infinite loop and break out of the infinite loop if somebody purchases that item. So let's run this code. it asks you to please enter a card number. So I'm going to do it a little better. Yeah, so please enter a card number. Let's say I enter some number I enter. Okay, if I do that, what happens? Let's try that. It says something went wrong. Okay, why? See, what's the line that executed? Card number, this one, and then it tried to purchase the item with 1200 and this card number that I gave, 98485, that one. And in the purchase item, one of these exceptions is raised. So it says something is wrong. So now if I say 101, then also something is wrong. Why? 101 I have, right? But that has only 800 rupees and this has 1200 rupees, and that's why it says wrong. Okay, what about 102? So can you see that I'm not running the code again? This is an infinite loop. So if I keep on running, if I do this, sorry, please enter a card number, so I can do that. I can keep on giving random numbers, and this will keep on working forever and ever. Okay, so why? Because this is an infinite loop. This will only break if the purchase item is successful. So I run this code again. Please enter card number 101. It says something went wrong, but if I say 102, that card has 2000 balance and this one has 1200. So it is successful and the loop is ended. Okay, so I hope you got this. So if this is, let's say, only 700 rupees item, then I run this code, enter the card number. For 101 also it will work. I enter that. For 102 also it will work. But for 103, it will not work. Something went wrong. Then 100, that also something went wrong. Any other number, that also something went wrong. But if I go for 101, it will work. Now, if I give this as minus 700, what happens? Minus 700, that will also be a problem because the price is less than 0, so that will also raise an exception. So I'll run this code again, and whatever card number I enter, it will always say something went wrong. So 101 also something went wrong, 102 also something went wrong. Why? Because the balance itself is less than. You're trying to buy an item whose price is less than 0. So I hope you understand. You know how to raise exceptions now, and you know how to accept exceptions now. Okay, so you accept this exception type as a variable called e, and then you can convert the variable into a string and try to print it. So for now, something went wrong, nothing else is getting printed along with it. So looks like there is nothing here. Okay. Now once you're done with this part, we can go to the next part. Yeah, so let us consider a scenario. Same thing, this was the one and this was the code that we wrote. Okay, but now what's the problem here? For all these cases, it's saying something went wrong, something went wrong. For simple things also, it is saying something went wrong. So what do? Now we can try to raise that exception with some extra words. So it says invalid price, wrong card, and wrong card. We can send something like that. So instead of sending only exception, I can say invalid price, wrong card. This is also wrong card. Okay. So in this case, if you don't have that card, it says wrong card. But if you don't have the balance in the existing card also, it says wrong card. So let's say this is what you want to print. And now that's it. You can do that. But now in the except block, we have to write an if else, right? How do I know that whether it's the wrong card case or invalid price case? So I have to say if, okay, str of e equal to wrong card, then do something. If it is wrong card, then I'll say continue, or elif e equal to what's that? Invalid card. So I capital. If it is invalid card, then what do? I print the price product price is wrong. So that's the code I'm writing. So I'm slowly typing for you so that you also are able to follow along. Okay. So you see that it says invalid price. The price is wrong. So I have an if statement inside of the exception block. So now if I run this code, please enter a card. I say 100. It's failing. I say 101. It's failing as 0102. It works. Okay. So right now it's not failing properly. It's just printing for invalid. Let's check for invalid price. So minus 100. And please enter the card 101. Product price is wrong. Okay. So I hope you are getting what is happening here. When the price is invalid, it says the product price is wrong and it is finishing it. But if I'm not, the product price is not wrong, then it will keep on asking. Please enter a card. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. No. Okay, 101. Okay. So all of these will not work. But for 101, also it will not work. For 102, it will work, and we are done with this. Okay. So how will I know that this is working properly? I can write a print statement also. I can give a print statement here saying grand success. Now let me clear the screen and run this code again. Enter the card number for that, for that, for that, for that. It will not work. But for 101, it's not working still. For 102, it says grand success, and we are done. So what did we learn so far? We learned that we can mix up exception with the names of this thing. Okay, and now we go ahead. Okay, but even in this approach of sending messages, right, with exceptions, it's not ideal because we write if and else. So we write if here we have to do all of this stuff. Okay, and such logic is usually prone to errors, which means we might run into errors if we are doing it like that. So what do? We have to do inbuilt exceptions. Instead of inbuilt exceptions, we can build our own custom exceptions. So we can build our own custom exceptions. So how can we create our own custom exceptions? You can create your custom exceptions like this. You can go to the top, and right now we have this class red card, this class customer. We're creating these two cards and we're creating a dictionary out of them. Once we create a dictionary, we're creating a customer and running the while loop on it. Is it not? Okay. On top of that, we can add these two things also. We can add a class called invalid price and wrong card. So these are our exceptions. So exceptions are classes or objects of those classes. So this is inheriting from exception. So we can create our own custom exception by inheriting from exception. So the solution is to create custom exceptions. Exception is an inbuilt class in Python. Yeah, this one's an inbuilt class in Python. And we can create our own exception by inheriting the exception class like this. So of course, here we are creating two exception classes which inherit the exception class. Okay, and only classes of type exception can be used with the raise keyword. If you want to raise an exception, then it has to be exception or any of the child classes of exception. I hope that's starting to make sense. So we move on to the next one now. So we can raise these custom exceptions and handle them differently. So how do we do that? So instead of here in the customer, instead of raising exceptions, now I can raise an invalid price. I can raise an invalid price, and this one will be the wrong card, and this one will also be the wrong card. Okay, so now this is how I can raise that, and here I can say something different. I can say low balance. So wrong card is wrong with the wrong card, and wrong card with low balance also, and this one will be invalid price. So that is how you can do it. So you can actually look at the code in action now. Okay. So what did we do? We created these classes. We have a credit card simple class, and then we have this customers which has this purchase item method. And this time, instead of raising exceptions, we are raising invalid price and wrong card exceptions. But we are also sending this message now. So that's about this customer. The same old drama here. We create this stuff. Yeah, let me go website. Yeah, we make this stuff. And then we run a while loop on the attempts of the customer. So what happens? When we run this code, please enter the card number for 101. It says card has insufficient balance. For 100, card is invalid, and for 102, it says done. If there is nothing, it says done. Okay, so can you see what's happening here? The price is wrong, the card is invalid, and the card has insufficient balance. And then can you see that in the except block, what is happening here? We are now able to accept three different things. So this is the biggest change that we have learned today. So I expect you to understand this code. So I'm going to leave this code like this and make sure that you understand and you are able to implement this. I'm going to close that. Make sure you understand this code. These are just the first two are simple exceptions. We are just extending the exception class. The rest of the magic, I think you have seen this code 4 or 5 times now. So there's nothing not to understand. So here we are having multiple except blocks. So I want to get used to this because this is the rest of the code. We are going to continue using these things on it. So start getting used to it and try to attempt to do this code on your own right now. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to try to do this. So I'm going to put myself on mute, and if you have any questions and answers, questions, make sure you are asking in the Q&A section. I hope this is starting to make sense now. You know how to accept multiple try catch blocks. It's almost like saying if and elif and elif. Yes, sorry. Yeah. So it's almost like saying if elif. Okay. So, but we are going to come back and make it old. So I hope you got this. We are creating our own custom exceptions, and then we have a credit card object, a simple credit card object, and we have a customer object. We create all that stuff that we need. We run a while loop, and we try to buy an item for 1200 rupees. And we are the only thing we are accepting from this person is a card number. So I hope you got this. This is how we make custom exceptions. Now, let's try to understand a little more deeper into how custom exceptions work. So this is how the custom exceptions work. We have this invalid price, we have this wrong price, okay? And we raise that directly. We are raising that exception directly in this code itself, okay? So we are raising the invalid price, okay? We are accepting exception, we are accepting invalid price, and we are accepting wrong card. So when we raise this, if it's accepting exception, it prints exception or invalid price or wrong card based on the exception. It's just printing the name of the exception. So when we raise an invalid price, which of these except blocks will work? Think about this. Okay, so let's run this code. Let's go to the terminal, get a new terminal, and it's called revision.py. Okay, let's run that. Yeah. So it's saying exception. So the print, the output is exception. Why is that? So I tried this block of code. This is my first except block, this is my second except block, this is my third except block, and looks like exception is being caught. But I'm raising an invalid price, right? Okay, what if I raise a wrong card? Then also we are getting exception. Okay, so what's happening here? What's happening here? So instead of raising that, so let's try to move the order of these things a little bit. So let's say I move that one a little bit down and a little bit down there. Okay, so let's say I move it like that. So exception, I put it at last. So I'm raising a wrong card, I'm accepting an invalid card, and I'm accepting a wrong card. So let's run this code again and let's see what gets printed. It says wrong card. Okay, this is correct. This is correct. This is what I would expect. This is expecting a wrong card. But if I move this to the top, then it still says exception. So let's understand what's it. Can you guess what will be the output? And once you try to guess that, the order of accept, let's explain that. Here, we can see that the except block of exception is executed, even though we are raising an invalid price, right? We were raising an invalid price, but still the exception block of exception got executed. Okay, this is because a parent class except block will be able to handle all child class except blocks also. Okay, so exception is going to accept everything that is a exception. But invalid price is also an exception and wrong card is also an exception, which means this is a parent class and this is a child class. And of course, if you are catching the parent class, is invalid price an exception? The answer is yes. So the except class works here itself. So I hope you got it. The parent class except blocks must always come after the child class except block. Make sure you remember that. Now let's try one more piece of code here. So here we are accepting the exception and here also we are accepting the zero division error. Okay, so let's try this code normally first, which means I'm going to get rid of all of that. and I'm going to just try 1 by 0 normal. So once I try 1 by 0, I know that we get 0 division error. Okay, so it looks like that is the 0 division error, and which means I can try that code and I can accept, okay, exception as E maybe, okay, and print STRE. Okay, let's do that. So let's run this code. It says string of E, it says division by 0. If I just print only E, let's see what happens. It still says division by 0. Okay, yeah, it still says division by 0. Okay, so if I want to accept the 0 division error, can you see now that I have changed this? It is 0 division error. So if I let that go, and I run this code, you'll see that I'm getting indentation error. Okay, so all these are exceptions. Okay, and now we are getting a 0 division error. So if I do that, if I try to do 0 division error now, let's try to run this code. So it's still saying division by 0. Now I'm going to go back to the original code. Can you tell me what is happening here? They are accepting exception. They are also accepting 0 division error. So if I run that code now, it still says exception. The reason it is saying exception is, you have guessed it. I think you have guessed it. The order of execution. We also find that the except block of exception runs first. Yeah, exception runs first. This is because internally, remember this is an important point, is because internally all exceptions are subclasses of the exception class. Okay, so all exceptions like 0 division error or the earlier errors that we have seen, they are subclasses of the exception class. This is why we should always keep the except block of exception as the last one. So this is not correct, but this is correct. So just move this exception and print exception block, move them to the bottom, and now if you run this code, it says 0 division. Now it's happy. Now we are printing 0 division. Alright, so I hope that makes sense. Once you are done with that topic, that finishes us our topic for the day, which is exception handling. And we have this cute quiz. We want to finish off this quiz now. And then we have this braces. There is another coding platform that we have where you can try out any of the codes that you want to try. That moves us to assignment number 5. Please make sure you attempt these assignments, and if you are having any problems, make sure you're asking me. So this is assignment number 5, and we have a little bit of further reading. Just a few 3 topics here, I think. Yeah, a further reading of about abstract classes, about what is abstraction itself, about how meta class works, and finally about exceptions. So all this is a quick revision of all of these things that we have done, and you can read further about that. And then the next topic for today will be common mistakes of object-oriented programming. So I think we will do this topic next week, on Friday. For now, we will try to attempt this for now, the practice problems. So this is the problem that I have shown you. So I'm going to give you 7 minutes or 5 minutes maybe. So try this, and after that, I'm going to quickly start coding it here. Okay, so please make sure you're trying this code out right now. Okay, so I have shown this problem to you earlier also. Please spend some time on this right now, because I am going to give you the solution to this in 5 minutes. Okay, so I hope you have understood the proper statement thoroughly and you have made an attempt on your side. So I'm going to attempt it from my side. So let's call it the practice problem number 1.py. Let's start there. And we start with purchase as a class. That's a class. It has it has list of items and list of count of each item sold as static variables. So list of items, I can put none initially. So this is my class. How do I create this class? I can create this class by saying p equal to purchase, and that's the default constructor. Great. So now this works. So let me also write the string method. Okay. So let me try to print p. Let's run this code. Python 3 and practice problem 1.py. So once I create that item, it says this is a purchase object with that ID. If I keep running this code, I get a different ID because again the code has run and created a new purchase object with that ID. So you know how this works. Let's move on. So these two static methods I have created, and this is one more static method we have to create. Find total items sold. Okay, let's write that item. So this is going to be a static method. So you remember how to make something a static method. So static methods do not take self. So find the total number of items sold. For now, I'm going to return 0. So I can say p dot find the total items sold. Let's run that. And it says 0. It says 0. That's nice. So this is working, but we have not yet written the code for this. Not yet. So I'll write to do code this. Okay. So find total number of items sold. That one is done. Items purchased and item on offer. These are going to be private attributes. So for having private attributes, I have to create a constructor. In the constructor, items purchased and item on offer. Items purchased and items on offer. So self dot. These are the ones that should be there. For now, I'm going to put them as none. Later, I'll see what I can do with them. Okay. So this also to do code this. And then we have these methods: get items purchased, get item on offer, def get items purchased, self pass, def get item on offer, self pass. So for now, I'm going to just have pass. I'll have to code it later. Okay, I'll have to code that later. Okay, next. Sell items and provide offer. Sell items gets list of items to be purchased. Sell items and provide offer. Okay, def sell items. It accepts this one. For now, I'll say pass. And def, what's the last one? Provide offer. Provide offer. Self. The sell items also needs a self. because these are all instance methods. For now, I'll have to put a pass. I have not written the code for them, so I'm just writing this part. So far this is good. And I'm going to save that. Right, so we have this practice problem number 1, and this is the code so far. So far we have done everything that this has asked us to do, but we have not yet written the inside logic for them. Okay, so how do you do that? Before I do that, I'll actually run this problem. It says 0 because I'm trying to find the total items. I'll just print P also, just for checking whether everything is working fine. This is the purchase object with that ID, and the total number of items sold is 0. So this is the code so far, and let's try that. You can paste it here and you can verify. So you see that already a lot of these test cases for me are passing. A lot of these test cases are passing, but some of them are not passing because I have not yet implemented the logic. So let me go and implement the logic. The list of items, it's a static list. Yeah, of course, we know that it's a static one. That's why we are having it here. List of items is a static list, and it contains a list of items available in the store. I need to initialize it with the sample data as given. So this is the sample data. I should initialize it. Okay, cool. So list of items is that. But of course, these are supposed to be strings. So I take that, and I add that, and we are good. I'll just have to change this a little bit. Yeah, so now this list of items, this is done. So this requirement is met. We are trying to meet the other requirement, static list, which contains the count of items sold. Initialize the count of each item to 0. So we have to initialize the count of each item to 0. How many items are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items are there. So I have to have 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 zeros, and I have to add a comma space. I just did that. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7. There are 7 count of items sold. So how many cakes are sold? 0 cakes are sold. How many soaps are sold? 0 soaps are sold. How many breads are sold? 0 breads are sold. That's how we are going to maintain this list. That is the requirement also. It wants to record the number of items bought by its customers. That was the original requirement, so that's what we're going to do here. Now, if it is the list of items and the list of count of each items, right? So find the total items sold. I think this one we can do now. So code this. What is the total items sold? It is the sum of all of this. So how can I write a for loop for that? So I can say sum equal to 0. And then for I in range of the length of this fellow. Length of, how do I access this name? I access it with the class name, purchase dot, that one. For that length, okay, for in that range, I get that item, purchase dot, I get the ith item and add it to the sum, and then I return the sum. So what did I do? I find the total items sold by calculating it like this. Okay, so I'm going to collapse that. Let's try this. Total items sold. Let's run this code. So we have a purchase object and the total items sold are 0. Let's make it a little change. So let's say 1 biscuit is sold and 3 breads are sold. Let's run this code again. And you will see that it is now saying 4 because total number of items sold. So find total items sold. This is working correctly. Great. So that is done. Now let's move on ahead. Items purchased. It is this one. Items purchased. Items purchased. It is the list which contains the list of items purchased by the customer. Okay. This is an instance property, which means only one will belong to the purchase object. Every object of purchase will have it. Okay. But every object of purchase will have this as common, but this one will be independent for others. For every object, it will have its own items purchased, it will have its own item on offer. So list, initialize it with an empty list in the constructor. Okay, that is easy. I can use empty list, I can put it in the constructor. Okay, nice. And what is item on offer? Name of the item provided as an offer. Initialize it to none in the constructor. Okay, it's already done, but I'm going to do it again. Yeah. So this is done. Looks like this is also done. Now, provide offer, it does these things, and sell items, it does these things. We'll try to the find total items we have done, finished off. Find total items, we have finished it off, right? So that was closed. Get items purchased. Okay, get items purchased is this one only, right? So get items purchased, it will simply be return that one, return that items purchased. So this is done. Get item on offer, it's this one. So we have to simply return self dot item on offer, and this one is also done. So this one is done, all of these are done. So sell items and provide offer, these are not done yet. Okay, so those are the two things that we have not finished so far. Those are the ones that we have not finished. Okay, let's work for that. The shop has decided to give one hand sanitizer free if soap is bought by the customer. Okay, if somebody calls a provide offer, right, the shop has decided to give one hand sanitizer free if soap is bought. Okay, if somebody buys soap, then we want to give them one free hand sanitizer also. And how do we do that? We do that by doing these two things. So what's that? That's a provide offer. Okay, so I'm going to collapse that. This one, provide offer. I need to do those two things. So increment the count of hand sanitizer by 1. Okay, how do I do that? What is the count of hand sanitizer? It is in the list of count of each item sold, right? I have to do that. List of count of each item sold. Which item is that? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Fourth item. So 4. That fourth item, I'll say plus equal to 1. I have to increment it by 1. Okay. So provide offer, increment the count of the hand sanitizer in the list of count of each item sold by 1. Okay, I did that. Update the instance variable item on offer to hand sanitizer. Where is that instance variable? Item on offer. So this one I have to update it. Update the variable hand sanitizer offer to hand sanitizer. Okay, so those are the two things that provide offer should do. I'm going to remove these comments. So those are the two things that provide offer should do, and that is done. Okay, the only thing that is left for us to do is sell items, and let's take a copy of those things. So these are the three things that it should do. Sell items should do this. Yeah. So for every item in the list of items to be purchased, increment the count of the item in the static list. This is the static list. Increment the count of that item. The static list of count of each item sold, increment it by 1. Okay, let's try to do that now. And add the item to it. Let's try to do that. This part. For every item in the list of items to be purchased, how do I do that? For I in range of len of list of items to be purchased. For every item in that. And this is a static one, so I have to access it using purchase. Yeah. So so for every item in that range, this is what. Okay, so this is what they are asking for. For every item in this list, increment the count of the item in the static list. So we have to find out So how do you call that cell items? We have to call cell items by saying p dot cell underscore items, and we have to give it a list of items, right? List of items, let's say we are buying bread and we are buying jam. Okay, so we'll get bread and jam, right? So for I equal to 0, we get bread, and for I equal to 1, we get jam. So bread and jam, for each of those items, current item, etc. Current item equal to that item ith element. Okay, now I got the current item. Now I want to go through every item in this one, in list of items. Okay, for every list of items, for j in range of len of purchase dot list of items. Okay, list of items, this is a static list, right? For every item in the list item I will get. List item equal to I. Sorry, this will be j. So I, we are iterating through the list of items to be purchased, and j, we are iterating through the list of items, this items, list of items. And then once we have the current item and the list item, I am going to compare them. If current item, I am going to make them into lowercase, so that sometimes sentence is in capital case, sometimes it is in small case, and so on, right? So if that one is equal to list item dot lower, okay, which means we found that item. So if I say bread, for the first time 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for 6 it will work, and then for jam it will be 0, 1, 2. Okay, so that's how it will work. If the current item is if those items are a match, then increment the count of the item in the static list. What is the static list? This is the static list, right? Then purchase, that is the static list, and j is the index. I have to increment it by 1 plus equal to 1. So increment the count that is there. I have to do that. Let me write that there only. Okay, and add the item to attribute. Add that item to attribute items per. So items purchase list, right? Self dot underscore underscore items purchased. That is the list. And for that I have to append one more thing. What do I append? This item. List item. I'm going to add the list item. If both of them are the same, right? I can put the list item or the current item. So I'm going to add that, and that's it. So that's my requirement. That is also met. Cool. And if soap is purchased by the customer, then provide the offer by invoking the appropriate method. Okay. If soap is purchased, right? So inside this, if current item dot lower is equal to soap dot lower, then what will you do? You have to do provide offer self dot provide offer. Is it not? So if soap is provided, that, so that is the code. That is the final code. And now we are done with this code, so we can save this. So all that looks pretty big, but I think you solidly understand what we have done so far. So this is the code, that is the code, and let's try to sell items and then find the total items sold. Okay, so let's try to do that. I'll make it 0 and 0. So initially it will be 0. I create the purchase, I print the purchase, I find the total items sold, then I sell items, and then I find the total items sold again. Okay, so clear? And run this code. You see, this is a purchase object, and then initially 0 items were sold, and then we have 2 items. Let's say I also want to buy soap along with it. You know what will happen with soap? This is not defined in line number 39. list of I have to set purchase dot. Yeah. So although I'm buying 3 items, it becomes 4 because okay, let's see. So here let's get the items purchased. Print p dot get items purchased, and then after the items are sold, then I will get the items purchased again. Run this. Okay, get items dot purchased is not working properly. It's printing something. Bound method. Okay, get items purchased. I think that one. This is a common mistake. I have to make a call to it. Okay. And if I run this code, it says initially 0 items were sold and the items purchased is an empty list. Later, although I tried to buy 3 items, okay, although I tried to buy 3 items, 4 items were sold. 4 items were sold, and let's see. And we'll also add hand sanitizer. So that's it. I take this code, I copy that, and now I can paste that code here, and I can verify. See, a lot of these test cases are now passed except for these two. So there are slowly you can understand what these test cases are, and gradually uh, you can work on this. Okay, so that's where we are at. So we are just trying to finish this program. So I hope this makes sense. I know I have not allowed you to do annotation requests, but I'd like to take a look at this code. That is the toughest part, I believe, for you. But I'm simply following the requirements. So I hope this makes sense. A lot of coding is just attention to detail. So make sure you're paying attention to the detail. So no need for code this anymore. I can get rid of all of that. And now we have a fully functional code. Is it beautiful? I don't know whether you find programming beautiful, but I really love programming. So this is really good looking for me. So we did a great job and now we are so happy. So that's it. That brings us to the end of this program. We are done with this part. The next time what we are going to do is we are going to go back and we are going to take a look at the common mistakes that we can do in programming. The common mistakes that we can do in programming, in object-oriented programming. We'll go for the common mistakes and then we will also do a little more practice problems. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for your time. It has been great. I hope this was really helpful for you. I see that Dhanalakshmi and Monisha Saravanan have still raised your hands. If you have any questions, please ask in the Q&A section. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can please ask in the Q&A section. All right. Looks like we have no more questions. Thank you so much for your time. We are almost at the end of our time too. So today was a great session. I hope it was helpful for you. I hope you are also getting a little more enthusiastic about coding and you are wanting to finish this code and finish all the exercises. Try to make it on time so that I can help you, because next week onwards, we're going to spend all our time in trying to help you out. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for your time. Have a nice day and make sure you're studying. Bye-bye. Bye.